remember the days in some old-time Pentecostal church meetings while preaching the word. I would hear responses from the pews. Amen. Preach it, brother. Come on, come on. And stand there and think, well, the very people who are hollering at me to keep bringing it are the very ones who need to hear it the most. Hi, this is Barry Phillips with 10 Minute Torah, day number 2 of the Torah portion of Hazinu, and we're back in Deuteronomy chapter 32, all the way down into verse 2. Let my instruction fall as rain, and my speech drop down as dew, as a fine rain on the tender plants, and as showers on the grass. So we see then the word instruction and the idea of speech or preaching, declaration, is likened to either rain or dew. Dew happens to be soft on the ground. It settles easily in the early morning hours. And it lays gently on the plants. We're reminded of the mist that came up out of the ground prior to the time of Noah that would water the ground, and it was a greenhouse style effect where the moisture would rise up and the mist would give plenty of moisture to the vegetation. There are those moments that we need that. We don't always need a word of reproof or rebuke. We don't always need someone to take this word and hit us between the eyes as if wielding a hammer against us. If we have ears to hear what the Ruach is saying, then someone can speak straightforward, calmly, easily, even gently, and our spirit will hear and understand and make necessary changes if that is what is required. Otherwise, we will take that which is positive and encouraging, edifying, upbuilding, and stand on it and increase our pace, our intensity, our momentum, and begin to grow and mature. Both sides of that equation are necessary. There are times that we need to hear the negative, the reproving, correcting, times that we need to be encouraged, built up, and edified, the positive. When these are offered to us in a reasonable tone, we can get it. There seems to be an idea, at least currently among some, who are known to be prophets. That's the term that most use. They feel as if it's got to be thunderous. It's got to be super intensive. I don't know that every time that one of the major prophets, Jeremiah, Isaiah, etc., would have stood before their audience, even if it was a king, and thundered and pointed their finger and railed magnificently in front of them. Sometimes they may have just simply walked up and says, "This is what Yah says. Here it is." The volume of the voice does not necessarily, not always, sometimes it's required, but it does not always necessarily indicate the tone of Yah's voice. Think about that. When we are conveying the Father's message, are we also conveying His tone? I probably need to hear that as much as anybody else today. Rain, on the other hand, can be a whole nother matter. As I record this, the skies are overcast. There is a soft, easy, misty style rain outside. We've had in some areas of our locality here some very forceful downpours as a response of Hurricane Ian and its aftermath. We've had some areas that have been flooded. But here on our property, it's been easy, a little windy on occasion, but not bad. And the forecast is rain, rain, and more rain for the next several days. The ground is well saturated. How much more rain can it hold? Rain can come gently, peaceably, meet the need, and then lift. Other times, rain is extremely heavy, overwhelming, overbearing, causing flooding, causing housing problems, causing the beating down of plants that it's intended to give life to. Sometimes the word of Yah, therefore, as it is likened to rain here, is hard. I've watched the videos of the waves that were brought in, the surge, as it's called, of the hurricane in Florida. I've seen the cameras that showed how that the waters barely covered the roads, and then they were up almost to the roofs or above the roofs of buildings. And the torrent and the impact and then the aftermath. Anyone who stood in the waves at the beach, you know that you can stand just ankle deep or so and the waves will come in, and even that little small volume of water will quickly erode the easy sand out from under your feet. If you stand out waist deep or more in the waves, you can get knocked off of your feet. Or just the force of a wave that doesn't knock you off your feet can push you several feet forward just because of the weight and the magnitude of the wave. The hard, intense outpouring of rain is intended not for our destruction when it comes to the word. It is intended to propel us, to move us when we are stuck, when we're unmovable, when we're stubborn, when we're not doing as we should or walking at the pace that we should. Sometimes we have to be picked up and moved along. And that's the job of the word. And so we have an understanding then that Yah has used waters, rains, to correct his people. If we go back to the book of Shemot, and we consider what was done there in chapter number 15. They've just crossed over from Mitzrayim to the other side. And there is great rejoicing, only then to find in chapter number 15 that the people began to complain because the waters are bitter. And they're excited about that. In chapter 17, just turning the page, again, water becomes the issue. And the people are complaining, we're going to die of thirst. It's here for the first time that waters come out of Horeb. And the people that ask the question, is Yahweh with us or not? If he's with us, why are we having problems? When we go over to the book of Zechariah, and we consider the words of that prophet, he says in chapter 14 in verse number 8, and in that day it shall be that living waters flow from Jerusalem, half of them toward the eastern sea and half of them toward the western sea, in summer as well as in winter. So there's life-giving flow coming out of the city of Jerusalem. There will be, I believe, physical waters, but waters are also indicative, prophetically speaking, of voices, of communications. His voice is as the sound of many waters. And so the words of Yeshua will be coming out of Jerusalem in the different directions. Who will be the presenters of that? It could be that you and I will be involved in that task, carrying the word of Yah out from the epicenter of Jerusalem to the uttermost parts of the earth. If we go over to a little bit further in the book of Zechariah 14, we are told in verse 17 that if anyone doesn't come up to Jerusalem at the Feast of Sukkot, that there will be no rain, there will be no word. Would it not only be that there will not be water on his fields for his crop productions, but there will also be a lack of word to him? I believe that when we embrace the feast of Yah, he does indeed increase our level and ability of revelation. Something to think about. Just a reminder, there will not be a video posted tomorrow We'll see you again on Thursday. Until then, shalom.